As we enter the final phase of One Piece, it's pretty clear that the Straw Hat crew still needs some major upgrades. We need some powerhouses to join this crew stat to actually deal with some of the massive threats coming up. Doesn't matter if it's a super hockey beast or a powerful old comrade, the Straw Hats just need some help. I'm talking about anyone with tragic backstories, strong dreams, and really heavy ties to Luffy. Luckily, I think I found 5 incredibly strong candidates for the Straw Hat crew, and I promise you that you have totally been missing some key pieces of foreshadowing for all of these guys joining the crew. And I think we're gonna start with 2 options that are absolute fan favorites. I'll have them share a spot here, mostly because at this point, I'm not even sure if one of them is still alive anymore. I'm of course talking about the 2 former pirate captains, Trafalgar Law and Eustass Kid. Now, why do I think that one or even both of these 2 people are potentially gonna become members of Luffy's crew? Well, it's pretty simple really. They kind of have no other options left. I mean, both of their ships are destroyed, their crews have been decimated, and there's practically nobody left to support them at all, besides their former ally, the future Pirate King, that is. Okay, let's face it, with the Elbaf arc now, this is the perfect chance to give Kid a real redemption arc so he can finally learn his place. After realizing the true power of a Yonko at the hands of Shanks in chapter 1079, he was cut down and left off of the shores of the Giant's homeland. If he somehow managed to survive, which honestly he shouldn't, but if he does, which knowing Oda is not that unlikely, he'll need some way off of Elbaf and people to really help him out. I mean, the Giants sure aren't going to. He kind of messed with their buddy Shanks, which basically only leaves big man Luffy over here to pick up his slack. And whether you love or hate the idea, Kid could probably be a phenomenal addition to the crew in terms of just power. With really strong haki, the potential to develop his Conqueror's haki, and an awakened devil fruit, he would absolutely buff the strength going into the final saga. I think he'd fit in greatly as a fleet captain with his own new ship, or if he decided to stay on the Thousand Sunny, a devastatingly ruthless cabin boy. And let's be real, that is absolutely something that Oda would pull off, especially the way that he's been disrespecting this man's whole life whenever he has any major appearance. Not to mention that he could even receive some major upgrades with the help of Lilith and Frankie. It would even possibly confirm the theory that Kid is actually the 7th Vegapunk satellite. What? Okay, let's do a quick mini theory showcase run here because I've been sitting on this one for a while and it may be relevant and I honestly don't know where else to put it, so let's go. You see, if you take a peek at his cannon and actually a bunch of his attacks, you can see the numbers 07 plastered all over Kid's signature moves. This, along with his kind of lackluster origin story and the fact that all of his abilities have the word punk in their name, have become a pretty popular theory that he is actually the 7th missing satellite, the satellite of pride. Plus, it would really give a whole new meaning to the whole move Damned Punk, because he is literally that, the damned or fallen Vegapunk. Just a little fun idea here that might add towards his inclusion in the crew, or at the very least, an appearance again in Elbaf. So let's now move on to Law, someone who I actually think is far more likely to eventually join the crew again. Because you see, he's someone with motivation, connections, and a lot of history, making him the perfect crew member. Obviously, he's very powerful, having strong haki, an awakened devil fruit that is just beyond busted, and the battle IQ to fend off half of the Blackbeard pirates almost by himself. But even more importantly, he has information about his encounter with Big Teach here to share with Luffy. The powers of Blackbeard's crew, his goals, and his strategies. And since we do know that Beppo swam away with Law at the end of chapter 1081, leaving his story an open book, it is very much possible. Since the Hard Pirate's ship, the Polar Tang, which I actually didn't know was the name of it, is now basically resting on the seafloor, Law is in some dire need of assistance. Now luckily, based on their journeys, we do know that Winter Island, which is the location of his battle with Blackbeard, isn't that far off from either Egghead Island, Elbaf, or Wano. And this ultimately means that the Straw Hat crew would very much be able to pick him up either on their way to or on their way away from the Giant's territory Elbaf. But maybe the most important thing here though is that he's actually still alive. He's also a member of the D-Clan and practically a former member of the crew already at this point. I mean, he obviously has a way bigger role to play still in the series, as his popularity is massive. He has a devil fruit that seems to be related to the treasure of Marijoa, and he has the Will of D, which is now also on the cusp of being explained as well. So Law's inclusion alongside the crew is just lining up way too well at this point, and if his crew actually manages to survive, I can absolutely just see him becoming the chief strategist for the Grand Fleet. I mean, let's be real, he practically has teamed up with the crew for the entirety of the New World Saga already, and his planning in the raid of Onigashima was very crucial to the eventual victory as well. Assuming that he isn't secretly still a member of SWORD or something, which he absolutely still could be based on his deep connections to Sengoku, but for now, I think he's just gonna tag along with the Straw Hats for the rest of the final saga as a crew member. Okay, but we still got 4 more to go here, and it's just gonna get more and more crazy from here on out, and the last dude on this list could easily destroy these two by himself. He's just on a completely different power level. But before we get all the way there, it's now time, I think, to focus on where the story is literally going next, and from there, we should glean some key information about our next potential Nakama. And so we now set our sights on the island of Elbaf for our next potential crew member. You see, in nearly every saga, on nearly every island, and basically every arc in One Piece, a character or even set of characters end up joining the crew temporarily, with then faint promises by Oda of them potentially joining the crew someday after. Some great examples here are Rebecca on Dressrosa, Katakuri on Whole Cake Island, Yamato and Wano, and we'll talk more about some of them later, but this trend is obviously important because it always starts up a discussion for the entire island, or multiple in some cases, for just when this character or that character is finally gonna join. And with Elbaf, there are actually a few options that I can think would fit this bill perfectly. For one, there's someone like Jaguar D. Sol, who not only has a close tie to Nico Robin, but much like Law, has connections to the great and mysterious D-Clan. As a result, he could fit fairly well within the crew, especially because he was a former Vice Admiral, meaning that his combat power is pretty damn good. Or on top of that, the mysterious man with the burn scar could also be a candidate as well. I mean, we do know that Kid was after him, as his conversation with Killer here in chapter 1056 is the first time that we ever hear about this mysterious road poneglyph protecting pirate, and with Kid then immediately going off to Elbaf, there is bound to be some hint about him, or maybe the man himself on this island. So is it him? Is he my next pick for the next crew member? No. Honestly, I don't think that he's actually on Elbaf. And if he is, that's just gonna be a little bit silly. I mean, all of the man on a dark ship creating whirlpools around him stuff would just be kind of pointless if he turns out to just be lounging on a lawn chair in the land of the giants, right? So no, my pick instead is a character that was foreshadowed very long ago and would be a massive pickup for the crew in terms of wealth, fame, and power. And I mean that quite literally, as I believe it's actually gonna be Prince Loki, who will join the crew after the arc. Now, to be fair, we don't really know that much about him, but he's being set up to fill the party member of the week role for the crew during Elbaf, in my opinion. He's a young royal, much like Vivi or Yamato or Rebecca, and isn't tied down as a government ruler. He's just a prince, and from what we know, he is a hopeless romantic similar to Sanji or Brooke. I mean, come on, this dude tried to pull off the ultimate Romeo and Juliet moment with Lola, one of Big Mom's daughters. Even though she ended up backing out, his demeanor is really all that matters. That's the simp type of lifestyle necessary to be a Nakama if I've ever seen one. And I want you to keep in mind that at that point, Big Mom was the sworn enemy of the giants, and they still decided to rally behind Loki and fully supported his quest for love. So clearly he must have incredible influence and respect from the giants, very much like Luffy himself. And if the red hair pirates are as well affiliated throughout the island as they are, I have no doubt that Loki will feel similarly about Luffy as he does for red hair Shanks. Brotherhood. Loki has been set up as a young man with a dream of getting married and the full support of a nation with the literal strongest army in the world. out. Either that, or he could just end up being a creepy, weird villain, but we saw how that silhouette evidence thing turned out for, say, the goofy old man Vegapunk, so I wouldn't put too much money on the silhouette we got of him as well. And honestly, he is just the ideal pick for a new crew member, as suddenly the Straw Hats would gain full and unwavering command of the Giants, a force that will be absolutely crucial to take down the world government at the end of the series. And while I would assume that most of them would already rally behind the Sun God, for all that we know, there might actually be some non-believers among their ranks as well. I mean, there kind of must be some conflict on Elbaf too, right? And that's why, Loki, you're gonna be on deck. Just try to not fall in love with Robin or Nami, because honestly, you got no shot with them at all. All right, okay, but that's enough of future context clues. It's now time to actually go backwards into the past for our next possible contender. You love him, and he is 90% of the fandom's favorite character, Spandam. Now, obviously, he's had a bit of a rough go-around with the crew so far, but he has all the makings of a good crew member. He's got a cool sword, a tragic backstory, a really sick basket. Okay, guys, okay, who am I kidding? I can't even pretend that I can run that joke. I mean, the real answer is, of course, the greatest to ever do it, Mr. 2 Bonkure. That's right. I absolutely do think that a second Impel Down incident is on the horizons for us, and a bunch of former key players arrested are gonna be released and rejoin a bunch of our now most popular factions, namely Doflamingo joining Crossguild and Bonkure joining the Straw Hats respectively. I mean, that entire thing is a whole video for another day. If you want to see that, let me know. But at the end of the day, all that matters for now for our video is that we get the new Queen of Newcomer Island for the Straw Hats as well. In case you're really weird and skipped Alabasta and Impel Down, to sum it up, Benthen's sacrifice to help Luffy and the crew escape not once but twice was insanely critical for Marineford, and his loyalty and powers really know no bounds. His disguise powers could be essential for setting up some truly crazy reveals and double twists in the final saga, and he would absolutely be an amazing addition to the fight against the Blackbeard pirates. I mean, just imagine the insane fake outs and shenanigans that could come from a battle between him and Katarina Devon. But the real reason why I believe that Mr. Bonkure's return is on the horizon now is actually revealed to us during the Straw Hats' time in Wano. I guess technically it's during a flashback, but you get the point, right? The point is that we see that both the former users of the Barrier Fruit and the Clone Fruit were both allied together defending Orochi in the past. Now, why is that important? Well, mostly because of everything that we know about Devil Fruits and their wills, because I believe that all of this points to a legendary team-up of the Barrier and Clone Fruit users Bartolomeo and Bon Clay together defending Luffy. Now, I'm not gonna sit here and take credit for everything I've just said here, because I've seen this connection floating around in the fandom a couple of times, but I do think that it's insanely relevant to the topic at hand, so shout out to whomever first made this connection, because you did me a huge solid here and provided some real backbone for the idea of him joining. But anyways, let's go back to the reason behind Bon Clay's eventual return. You see, Devil Fruits have this tendency to connect and resonate with their owner, and it has been shown over and over again with Devil Fruits like Luffy's, Robluchis, or Blackbeards that Devil Fruits seemingly end up finding a user that fits their unique will and purpose perfectly. And this really all connects to Vegapunk's Devil Fruit theory in chapter 1061 as well. Desires, dreams, and inherited will are all connected, and it's this will that makes me think that Bon Clay will return to defend Luffy. But okay, we have former fruit users, Devil Fruits with wills, and Bon Clay, but those three things are just not really connecting yet. So what is the missing piece here? Let me save you the struggle. The answer, my friend, is Bartolomeo, because he is, of course, the current Barrier Fruit user and also is Luffy's #1 fan and sworn protector. Now, we do know that these two fruits have been shown to be tied together before, and both were used to help a royal figure, in this case, Orochi. However, now, both users are two incredible loyal allies to the future Pirate King, Monkey D. Luffy, and it's this possible narrative repetition and thought line that Oda absolutely loves to do that warrants my somewhat insane idea, admittedly, that Bon Clay will return at some point in the story to join the crew. I am not crazy, I'm just a One Piece theorist and a die-hard Bantam stan. After all, I did say once in the past that he was the One Piece after all. I did say once in the past that he was the One Piece after all. Bonkure is One Piece. I still stand by that opinion. Just you wait when we get to Laugh Tale, it's just gonna be a giant statue of Mr. Bonclay there. Okay, but we've now covered Bentham, Prince Loki, and the power couple of Law and Kid, so who is left? Who could actually do it? But before we get too carried away here, I think we should talk about a few honorable mentions first before we then get into my absolutely insane ideas for the last two spots. Because as I'm sure a bunch of you are realizing right about now at least, there's a few characters that I'm just not acknowledging in this list so far. And that's because I'm pretty certain that they're either already crew members, joining at some point regardless, or will one day be Straw Hats maybe after the story ends. I'm talking about characters like Vivi, Yamato, or Carrot, but also the new additions of Bonnie, Stussy, and Lilith. All of these girl bosses are perfect candidates for Straw Hats or affiliated crew members, and all have their own personal reason for joining or rejoining the crew. Vivi, for instance, is chilling with Morgans at the moment, and Yamato and Carrot already both have spots on the crew waiting for them whenever they decide to return or whenever it becomes relevant. Vivi does too, but she's already been a part of the crew, so we generally know what she would be up to as well. And if you ask me, I think that all of these characters are absolutely gonna return for the final saga, and if I'm gonna be real with you, there's a really high chance that Vivi or any of the other girls here have already rejoined the crew after my editors finish this video or whenever you're watching this. Because the same can be said about the Egghead Powerpuff girls, but none of them really have quite enough ties and connections to the crew to stay, I think, except for Bonnie, that is. Probably Stussy and Lilith are just along for the ride, though I did make a whole video about why Lilith might very well be the next Straw Hat, and little sun goddess Bonnie over here is pretty much in the same spot as Vivi. And honestly, with my luck, Oda is just gonna confirm any of their spots on the crew right after this upload, so yeah, they are all obviously very welcome on board at any time, but I'm not certain they'll make their way to full Nakama status before the manga ends, and if I'm wrong, let me know in the comments, and we can maybe celebrate or be sad together about who ended up making the cuts. But that is very much unlike my next pick for the number 2 most possible crew member, who is a mythical man I just cannot get enough of in this final saga. At this point, he's just the meme of the century, and as crazy as it seems, I think he very well could help take the crew all the way to Laugh Tale. It's no one else than my man, Scopper Gaban. And I swear I have talked about him every other day basically since the start of Egghead Island and the reveal of the Burnscar dude. And I mean, you probably know the idea at this point, but he is absolutely a frontrunner for the mysterious defender of the final road poneglyph. I mean, come on, let's look at the facts. He's been to Laugh Tale, he's aware of their importance, and he is the final important member of Roger's crew that somehow still hasn't made an appearance in the story now. I've talked about it a bunch, and it's pretty clear at this point to me that Roger's former crew has been placed and scattered throughout the Grand Line to make the next Joy Boy's journey to Laugh Tale possible to begin with. Crocus at the beginning of the Grand Line and Rayleigh in the middle of it were absolutely necessary for the Straw Hats to even get this far, and it's really time now for the big dog Gaban to take us all the way in the home stretch here as well, literally. But come on, that's kind of insane still, right? Like, why go all the way for him joining the crew? He has already found the One Piece. But I think that that might actually be the exact reason, not to guide them, not to protect them, but to help explain the past. After they themselves have discovered things, of course, because we do know that Luffy wants no spoilers until he gets to Laugh Tale himself. But we do know from Rayleigh in chapter 507 that Luffy and co might come to a different conclusion than Roger and he did when they first found the One Piece, but we still have no idea what that choice was. And so enter Scopper Gaban, the newly recruited old man of the crew. Okay, look, he can help facilitate the information transfer for the Straw Hats and finally accomplish Roger, and I guess by proxy also Joy Boy's full plan in the modern era at any cost. If he does end up joining the crew, I also think that he'll be the first Nakama to die, but that's more from a logical and narrative sense of being so old and loyal. Okay, I can tell that you're still not super convinced here. Okay, let me fix that. Well, if he is defending the final road poneglyph, two really important people also searching for Laugh Tale would also benefit from his reintroduction, those being Buggy and Red Hair Shanks, his two former cabin boys. Think about it, how else would these two make it to Laugh Tale? I mean, they need that final red cube as well, but if it's an old friend protecting it, they might actually just straight up know where to go looking for it. After all, Shanks is on the prowl now, and he seems quite confident that he can go claim the One Piece just whenever he darn well pleases. And so it's safe to to say I think that he's gonna be the biggest player in the end game, and Scopper Gaban could be the one to connect Luffy and Shanks together at long last as well, if that doesn't happen on Elbaf. Okay, but with that being said, we've now gotten to the boiling point for the most wild and important soon-to-be crew member of the Straw Hats. Who is it? Who could possibly be more important than Trafalgar Law or Scopper Gaban? So, I've actually been talking about him for like the past minute because, yeah, that's right. I legitimately think that there is a real case to be made that the red hair Shanks himself might be Luffy's final nakama. All right, buckle up, kids, because this is gonna be a really wild ride. Yeah, I can already hear you say, how? Why? What? Manu, did you fall down the stairs this morning? Stop asking me so many questions and just let me explain here. Here's the thing. We now know that Luffy needs to find the One Piece in order to save the world from a big flood, but at its core, One Piece is a story about Luffy becoming a great pirate to fulfill his promise to Shanks, right? His whole character arc is that he has to return the Straw Hat at some point, and it's kind of bound to be on Laugh Tale at this rate, as I truly believe this is gonna just be an all-out war there for the One Piece on that island between all these warring factions that we got introduced to in this panel on Egghead Islands. And also, there are just still too many powerful foes left for just Luffy to take care of as well. Emu, Akainu, Blackbeard, now Kobe, I guess, you name it, they are all ready to rumble. So he really needs another strong fleet commander to help him out, someone with true unrelenting physical and willpower. And so when you really think about it from a story perspective, Shanks can now finally complete their arc by bending the knee and supporting Luffy. I mean, he has been doing everything behind the scenes in order to create some sort of master plan, and I think that this was it. I think he's been pulling the strings so he can put the next Pirate King in place and fulfill Roger's will by doing so as well, but more importantly, it would also completely capstone his story with Luffy perfectly. I mean, time and time again, he has refused to let Luffy join his crew, so how unbelievably fitting would it be for the story for Shanks to finally fully recognize the Straw Hat Luffy, the reincarnation of Joy Boy and the next Pirate King, as his captain. Plus, I guess having Yasopp work for his son and the rest of the crew falling in line joining the Straw Hat Grand Fleet would be very amusing and one of the craziest twists in the story ever. It would just be a beautiful and wonderful full circle moment, and it would truly establish Luffy as the real ruler of the seas, the man so mighty that even not just a Yonko, the Yonko of Yonkos would answer to him. Plus, it would really, and I mean really, round out the strength that he needs in order to defeat his big final opponent. So that's why Shanks, in my opinion, just has to join the Straw Hats and get his darn hat back while he's at it as well. And since we've been talking about Shanks cooking something behind the scenes, pulling strings to put Luffy exactly where he needs to be, and trying to take down the world government, I guess, the question is, why? And much more importantly, is it just his plan, or is he actually finishing a much bigger plan that got inherited to him from Roger, that he inherited from Joy Boy, that was over 1,000 years in the making? Well, if you want to unravel the crazy theory of that 1,000-year-old plan, then check out that video below. And otherwise, thank you so much to all my Patreons. It's, as always, a massive pleasure having your support. If you want to support the channel and help us make way better art, way better content, and so on and so forth, you can support us over there and get some super cool perks, crazy artwork, access to polls, bonus content. For example, we just posted a big discussion video that I did with Mother Spaceman back in Phoenix.
Crocodile is clearly gender pilled.
Crocodile might be Luffy's mother.
I wonder what happens if he eats a rumble ball.
Yeah, that's what I was wondering.